So with it being no secret to anyone that at this stage in the franchise, Roger Moore was getting way too old to play James Bond. So they needed to go in a new direction. So in comes Timothy Dalton with The Living Daylights. But is it still worth a watch today? Hey guys, my name is Brandon, aka the BrandoCritic, and on this channel it's my job to point you in the direction of movies worth checking out. So if that interests you, definitely hit like and subscribe. And today I'm here to tell you if The Living Daylights is still worth a watch today. So in The Living Daylights, we have James Bond, this time played by Timothy Dalton, and we are introduced to him during a training exercise on the island of Gibraltar that has gone terribly wrong. However, the story really starts when Bond is tasked with aiding the defection of KGB officer General Koskov, played by Ian Fleming. Krabbe, whatever it is, you get the picture. During the defection, Bond notices a KGB sniper attempting to prevent Koskov's escape, who is a cellist by the name of Kara Malovi, played by Mariam Dabo. Disobeying orders, Bond shoots the rifle out of her hands as opposed to killing her, as Koskov's defection is a success. In the post-defection meeting, Koskov informs MI6 of Smert Spionem, meaning death to spies, an old KGB policy put back into place by a new head of the KGB, General Pushkin, played by John Rhys-Davies. However, after this debriefing, Koskov is then kidnapped by the KGB and brought back to the Soviet Union. So it's up to 007 to find out more about General Pushkin's evil plan, and his first lead, that very same cello player he didn't kill at the beginning of the film. So is The Living Daylights still worth a watch today? In my eyes, this is one of the best James Bond movies out there. And the reason for that is that The Living Daylights goes back to basics. After all of the Roger Moore films, and of course as the Roger Moore films went on, the more campy, the more ridiculous they became. This movie brought it back to basics because Ian Fleming's novels were espionage thrillers, and this movie gets that down pat. You know, this story is about defecting secret agents, double crossings, faking deaths, not knowing where the story's gonna go, not knowing which side each character is on. That makes the plot really intriguing. It also makes the action have a lot more weight to it because you don't know which character is working for who or where the story is going. And of course, this makes the tone much more serious. And of course, it's easy to compare it to the Roger Moore films because this is the first Dalton movie after A View to a Kill. And in A View to a Kill, it was clear that the Bond formula in the Roger Moore era was dying. It wasn't what it used to be. It didn't have that energy, that spunk. It was running out of gas. And Timothy Dalton's film brought it back to basic. It brought it back to that intriguing spy thriller. So now we have a more serious tone. Not only that, but it helps that we have an actor now who is believable in these stunts. And the quote-unquote funny moments, they fit into this story as well. You know, they're not overly tacky. They're not overly just completely what the hell am I watching? It actually fits into the story. And of course, to fit this more serious tone, we have Timothy Dalton. And a lot of people that I talk to don't really know much about Timothy Dalton. They always think of Pierce Brosnan, they think of Sean Connery, Daniel Craig. Timothy Dalton always seems to be the forgotten Bond. However, when he was getting prepped for this role, he read all of the Ian Fleming novels and brought it back to the roots of the character. You know, he brings back that 007 that is ruthless, relentless, a license to kill, short-tempered. He will do anything to get the job done. And in my eyes, Timothy Dalton brings all those qualities out in his portrayal of James Bond. The downsides though, as a ladies' man, sure, I can kind of believe him because, you know, he gets shit done and he is capable, right? He is the British secret agent 007 James Bond. He has that swagger to him. But as for the comedy, yes, he does not bring the same comedic chops as Sean Connery or Roger Moore did, but this isn't that type of movie. This is definitely more of a serious espionage thriller James Bond. So his portrayal of the character definitely fits the tone and the seriousness of the movie. If you had Roger Moore in this story, I don't think it would have worked. Just like if you had Timothy Dalton in Octopussy or Moonraker. I don't think that would have worked either. Different Bonds for different stories. Timothy Dalton's Bond definitely fits the Living Daylights story. And to accompany him, we have Mariam Dabo as Kara Malovi, and I think that she's one of the best Bond girls ever. Not only is she central to the plot, right? It's not like we have the plot going and we need a woman in there, so let's just tack her onto the side, just like Tanya Roberts is Stacy in A View to a Kill, which by far worst Bond girl. But I digress. Kara's involvement in the story is extremely important You can't have this story without her in it. And of course, she's extremely innocent and naive, which definitely contrasts well with 007's more serious, short-tempered portrayal. But then she also has that spark, she has that fire. She's not just some bimbo that James Bond has to save and is just holding her hand throughout the entire story. She actually wants to get involved in the action. She actually wants to help James Bond. She wants to help push the story forward. And of course, like every other Bond woman, she is completely gorgeous. So you have those two together going on this adventure. It's a great team. The only gripe I have with this movie is that the villain is not the most memorable, and then when you find out what the actual plan is underneath the whole death to spies plot, you're like, okay, this kind of came out of nowhere, it wasn't really developed, but you know what? The entire intrigue of the story is still there. So the fact that the villains are not the most memorable and they're not the most, dynamic, it's not the biggest detriment to this film. It's made up for with great performances from our leads, great locations. It goes to the Middle East, which we haven't really gone to before. I know James Bond went to Cairo and Egypt in The Spy Who Loved Me, but we go to Afghanistan, we go to Tangier, we go to Austria, we go to Czechoslovakia. These are definitely great locations, and they're different locations for a different Bond. This definitely feels like a big refresh and a big restart for the franchise. Then of course you have the Living Daylights song by a-ha, and you have the great score by John Barry, his last one. This is a great James Bond espionage thriller. I'm giving The Living Daylights a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. So if you guys are fans of Daniel Craig's portrayal of the film, or of the film From Russia with Love, because that film is definitely more of the spy espionage thriller, then Living Daylights is definitely a movie that you should check out. Anyways guys, tell me down in the comment section down below, what is your favorite Timothy Dalton James Bond film? I know you only have 2 to choose from, Living Daylights or License to Kill. I haven't seen both of these in a long time, and I recently just rewatched Living Daylights, but I'm still gonna go with License to Kill. That review's coming out very, very soon. And if you like this video and you wanna see more videos just like it, definitely hit like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Take care.